Debt, it's a double-edged sword. It's used carelessly, it can cut you down. Used wisely, it can build empires. Think of debt like a knife. One side is sharp, dangerous, if misused. But in the hands of a skilled chef, that same knife creates masterpieces. Most people fear debt because they've even seen the painful side of it: credit card bills, student loans, and stress. But the rich? They use debt as a tool, not a trap. It's how they buy assets, multiply wealth, and pay less in taxes legally. Today, let's break down 6 ways rich people make money with debt and how you can start thinking like they do. 1. How to build an empire using debt. The rich rarely build empires with their own cash. They use other people's money, usually from banks, investors, or lenders. Take Donald Trump before politics. He built a real estate empire using borrowed money. He didn't buy buildings outright. He used bank loans and investors' funds to acquire assets that paid for themselves through rent and appreciation. When those assets grew in value, he refinanced them, took out more debt, and used that money to buy even more assets. That's how compounding wealth works at scale, using leverage. The secret? They borrow to buy assets that produce income, not liabilities that drain money. Quick question for you. If a bank offered you $1 million loan tomorrow, what would you do with it? Would you invest, start a business, or panic? Drop your answer in the comments. I'd love to see how you'd use leverage if you had the chance. 2. The rich don't live on a salary. Most people live on a paycheck, and they pay the highest taxes. The rich, however, don't rely on salaries. They live on debt-backed cash flow. Here's how. Instead of selling stocks or properties and paying capital gains taxes, they borrow against their assets. Let's say someone has $10 million in stocks instead of selling them. They take a loan-interest loan from the bank, using those stocks as collateral. That loan isn't income, so it's tax-free. They use that borrowed money to live, invest more, or buy new assets. When done right, they maintain their net worth, avoid taxes, and keep compounding wealth while others work for a paycheck. This is how billionaires legally pay less in taxes than many middle-class workers. 3. Debt and real estate. Real estate is one of the most powerful ways the rich make money with debt. Here's how it works. They take a mortgage to buy a property using 20% of their own money and 80% borrowed from the bank. Then, tenants pay off that loan through rent while the property appreciates in value over time. Once the property gains equity, they refinance it, pull out cash from that equity, and use it to buy another property. This is called the BRRR method. Buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. The result? They keep acquiring more assets, all paid for by borrowed money and rental income. That's how generational wealth is built, not by saving, but by leveraging smart debt. 4. Leveraged buyouts and how they work. Ever wonder how companies like Blackstone or KKR buy billion-dollar businesses? They don't use their own money, they use LBOs, or leveraged buyouts. Here's the basic idea. They borrow a large amount of money to buy a company, using that company's own assets and future profits as collateral for the loan. Then, they improve the company, cut inefficiencies, grow profits, and sell it for much more later. It's the ultimate form of using debt to make money. Even some well-known brands like Toys R Us and Hilton Hotels have gone through leveraged buyouts. It's high risk, high reward, but it shows how powerful debt can be when used strategically. If you're learning something new here and want more videos that reveal how the rich really play the money game, hit subscribe right now and turn on the bell so you never miss a new upload. 5. Liquidity versus debt. Rich people know how to balance liquidity, their available cash, with strategic debt. They'll often use cheap debt to buy assets that generate high liquidity, like businesses or rental properties. Here's an example. Someone borrows $500,000 at 5% interest to buy an apartment building. That building brings in $70,000 a year in rent, $45,000 after expenses. That $45,000 covers the loan and still gives profit, while the property itself appreciates in value. So, instead of draining their cash reserves, they use debt to generate liquidity that pays for itself and funds their lifestyle without touching their main wealth. That's how they stay both liquid and leveraged. 6. Debt and inflation. The hidden trick. Here's one of the most underrated wealth strategies: Using inflation to erase debt. When inflation rises, the value of money decreases, but your fixed debt stays the same. So, the rich purposely take long-term low-interest debt, knowing that over time, the dollars they repay are worth less than the dollars they borrowed. Meanwhile, they use the money they didn't use for debt repayment to invest in higher return assets, stocks, real estate, or businesses. In the long run, inflation eats away at the debt while their assets grow in value. It's like using time itself to make money. That's why wealthy investors often don't pay off debt early. They use that capital to grow faster instead. So there you have it. 6 ways the rich make money with debt. They don't fear it, they understand it. They use debt to buy assets, increase cash flow, protect their liquidity, and even reduce taxes. The real difference between the poor and the rich isn't how much they earn, it's how they use leverage. If you found this video valuable, hit like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos that reveal how money really works. Drop a comment on what strategy surprised you most. Because in the right hands, debt doesn't destroy wealth, it builds it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.